There are clearly good movies and clearly bad movies, but occasionally we like to strap on our tinfoil hats, do some long-form division, subtraction, and multiplication to find, to the precise decimal point, what is everything in the middle. This is good, bad good.
Why this color? Why did you choose this color?
I don't know, you tell me.
Red number 5. RED is 27 plus 5 is 32, which is...
You're reaching now.
Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us this week for Good, Bad, Good. My name is Travis, and I am the director on the podcast.
Hello, I am Kylena, and I'm the actor-writer on the podcast.
I am Brian, and I am the most important part of the podcast. I am the editor.
And we are bringing to you a podcast where we decipher, decode, figure out what the hell is going on with the movie of the week and figure out whether it is a good, bad movie or a bad, good movie. And this week, the movie that we chose to do is 2003?
Seven.
The number 23.
But 2 plus 2003 is 2 plus 3 plus 2 zeros, and 2 zeros are like two different separate numbers, so that equals 7, which is times 3 is 21 plus 2 is 23.
That's actual dialogue from the movie.
Oh, man.
None of what I just said makes sense.
I was actually thinking, I vividly remember the billboards for this because it came out on... What was the movie that came out on 666? I could have sworn it was the number 23.
666.
Didn't he do one with a key? Is this Jim Carrey's only scary sort of thriller movie? Or is there one with a key with him and I want to say Samuel L. Jackson? Am I making up a movie?
I don't
Did
know.
I just dream some random movie?
This movie came out on February 23rd, 2007.
Which doesn't add up because 2 plus 23
No.
is 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Dang it, 30. Backwards is 23.
It's reverse. But also his birthday was in February, so it's a good month for them to do it because that's when the whole movie is set.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it, it's not one to see.
Okay, so before we jump into that, I just want to tell everyone that we will be doing heavy spoilers for this, like 15, 13, 14, I can't do math
14.
either. Brian, 14-year-old movie.
1 plus 4 is... Sorry, I can do it all podcast long. Okay, go.
So yeah, spoiler alert if you care about that.
Wait, 1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 split into 2 is 2 plus 3.
23.
All right, I'll go with that.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to stop now. Continue.
That's a little bit of a stretch, but in the spirit of this movie, I'll allow it.
Great.
I mean, this whole film was a stretch, so...
Yep.
So before we go any further, let us tell you what the film is about. Or, well, not us, but have our trusty assistant tell us. Hey, Google, what's the plot for the number 23?
Here's the synopsis of the number 23. A man's Jim Carrey. Discovery of an obscure book about the number 23 leads him on a descent into darkness. As he becomes more obsessed with its contents, he becomes more convinced that it is, in fact, based on his life. To his horror, he discovers grave consequences in store for the book's main character.
So yeah, as you could tell from our emotions towards this film already, we had a blast watching it.
Woohoo! I feel like there needs to be some little dinger that goes off. Which is like a basketball noise, and
Yes,
that's when
and
we
basketball,
bring in
Michael
the goat.
Jordan. Yeah.
There you go.
Number
The
23.
podcast.
It all
Hey.
makes sense.
Hey. Listen, you can't have the number 23 in conversation without talking about the greatest of all time. It's illegal.
Yeah. Draymond Green.
Cool. Great.
And now we've talked about him, so we can move on.
You're talking about Draymond Green, right? Number 23.
Oh, of course, naturally.
So let's get to the verdicts. I will go first. I thought that the number 23 was a bad, good film. Brian, Kai, who wants to go first?
Well, I just want to clarify by saying this was the first time I've ever actually seen this movie, which is surprising because normally when we watch these, there's, where you say the thing about like, we're going to have spoilers. And I'm like, if you haven't seen it by now, but like, I haven't seen
You
it.
legitimately made a face when I said that too. like 30 seconds ago.
Right. But then I realized I hadn't seen this movie until now. I will say that this movie is also a bad, good movie.
Cool. Brian?
My friends, we have a trifecta because I'm also going to say it's a bad, good movie.
Has that happened yet?
No, this is the first time.
All right. Thank you for tuning in today, guys. We're going to sign off now. This has been good, bad, good.
And we're
This was our best episode yet.
fast, guys. We're getting faster
seamless. Yes, this is the first time that we have done it. If this is your first time tuning in, this has not happened before. We usually debate and fight and don't speak for a few weeks and then do
Call
the next
each
one.
other nasty names.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is instead of going into exactly why we feel this way in the verdict, we're going to break it down category by category. And the first category we're going to be talking about is script and story. Do either of you want to go first on how you feel about this script?
I mean, the script and story is pretty much the biggest reason why I would say it's on the bad part of bad good. Because I feel like the idea of saying that the number 23, and I've heard the same thing about the number 37 also. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the band Punchline, but they have an album. They're sort of like a pop punk band from Pittsburgh. They have an album called 37 Everywhere, I think is what the album's called. And it's literally like the same concept. Like you find the number 37 in everything. So like I think the idea is kind of interesting, but the whole story and plot felt so totally incoherent and jumbled that it just was like a hot mess right from the start.
Agreed. I think conceptually, I just want to say to base an entire script that is supposed to be like a scary thriller around a number is I will say good try, because I think that's a hard thing to do, right? But yeah. This script was there were too many that book Save the Cat. There's a section in it where Blake Snyder talks about
we are not sponsored by them, by the way.
where Blake Snyder talks about, I can't remember what he calls it. It's like one of his faux pas that I totally agree with, that is like you use too many sort of sci-fi elements or too many like story elements that make it mysterious, right? So like we already have the mysterious book that shows up out of nowhere, and then we have a mysterious dog, and now we have like why do we need all the things that are thrown into it, right? Yeah. Like and then we have the mysterious twist at the end, and then it's like just give me one fucking thing and I think I'll go on an easier ride with you. When you throw too much into it, it's sort of I actually care less. Because then I'm like, well, wait, I was going down one avenue with you, and now I'm on another avenue. I'm on the boulevard. Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of that dog, real quick, and maybe this is more for the acting / actors section. But did anybody else think that dog looked like it had been hit in the weight room pretty hard before shooting that movie? Like when it stood there, like its pecs were huge. Like it was jacked. That was a strong looking beast
jealous,
right there.
Brian?
I mean, maybe.
Just joking, guys.
For the listeners
editors
out there,
are notorious for having large pecs.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. sitting behind the desk all day gives you just big pecs.
Damn right.
Brian's getting ready for his wedding, by the way, so he's like actually working on his physique.
This is true. I got to be fit.
Yep. He curled some Krispy Kreme donuts today, but
I did.
Besides the
3 of them, multiple times.
So I texted both of you when I was watching it, and it was just I was speechless at like I think when I had texted you was in the middle of the very I don't even know the right adjective for those scenes, but the film noir, like he's like
I would call it film noir,
Yeah.
Lynchian style.
he has
Yeah.
like the dragon. He's literally the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Those
Those
tattoos.
tattoos.
Those
So
were so
bad.
stupid.
And he was always somewhere in some scene covered with blood in some place that
Yeah.
like we didn't know why.
Also, like, why does the
And then
writer?
that later bled into his normal life. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why does the writer hate the saxophone so much too? Like, what did the saxophone ever do to the
I
writer?
think that's Joel Schumacher.
Hate or love.
I think
I
that's
guess.
Joel Schumacher's love for the saxophone.
Maybe.
Going all the way back to the Lost Boys.
Oh yeah. So I actually watched The Lost Boys, not for this podcast, obviously, because that's just a great movie.
Good movie.
No, great.
Sure.
I watched that last week, or maybe that was earlier this week. I don't know what day anything is anymore, but yeah. So, man, I just have so many issues with the story too. All right, well, I was gonna get into like the whole reveal and things that happened at the end, but maybe we should like work our way there, or do you want me to just go where I'm going?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, in the old cliche of like, if your ending doesn't work, there must be something wrong with the beginning. We could still unravel, because we haven't really touched on any of the storylines yet, other than there's a lot of mysterious things.
Yeah, so
And
so
like
pull it apart.
how
Go ahead,
how
Brian.
bad it is. But yeah, let's pull apart the setup first.
So at the end, you have this whole buildup, right? And then the reveal is that, oh my God, Jim Carrey is the one who actually wrote the book because he's psycho. And then it turns out that he meets his wife literally the second he gets released from the psychiatric hospital. Okay, so like, if you want to,
It's the real serendipity.
yeah, if you want, so, and I have multiple questions like, why was she bringing a cake to the psychiatric hospital? I guess that's plausible, but
So someone's getting out.
well, yeah, I guess maybe, or somebody's birthday or something. So, but if you want me to buy the fact that maybe he suppressed everything that happened in the early part of his life and then forgets about it, okay, that's a stretch, but I guess it's possible. But then he gets out of the psychiatric hospital, and does he never mention to Virginia Madsen's character in the 13 years that they're together, that they get married, that they have a son who clearly is older than 13, by the way?
Agreed.
Oh, really?
Oh, he looked older than
I'm really bad with kids' ages. Like, someone will ask me, "Oh, how old's your little cousin?" And I'll be like, "Oh, she's 5." And then my wife will be like,
She's
9.
12. Yeah.
I'm like, "What? No, she's 5." Okay. But I 100% was like, this kid's way too young to be 13. He's like at least 7.
No, I thought he was like 15,
Yeah, me
16,
too.
17 years
Me
old.
too.
Yeah.
And it was actually Logan Lerman, which is like,
He
like,
looked familiar, but I don't think I know
he's
who
the main
actor is.
guy from
Hunters.
sure.
Hunters is
Yeah, but from stuff that people have actually watched.
Hey,
From
Hunters got Al Pacino in. it.
Perks of Being a Wallflower. Perks of Being a Wallflower.
I saw that when it came out, but I can't remember.
And then I want to say I think he's in the Divergent series too.
Hunters is actually a very good TV show, by the way.
Hunters is on
Prime.
Hulu.
I think it's
correct?
Prime. It's Prime.
Yes, I
Yeah.
watched the first 2 episodes, and I would disagree with you on good TV
Well,
show because I stopped
You're allowed
watching
to be wrong. That's okay.
it. Okay, thanks, Brian.
But yeah, I mean, this is for the acting section, but I was definitely like, oh, so he wasn't acting very good even as a kid. Like,
so wait, just going off of your script points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, to all of those things. And it goes back to my, like, there's so many things that we're asked to believe.
Mhm.
So many things that we are asked to believe. And for me, going if we're gonna start with the end and just even go back to like climax
yeah,
area
it's just
where
memento
we're
it and go backwards.
yeah, we'll memento it. Where we like his
Spoiler for
wife
Memento.
figures out that he is the killer because she's gone and found this room and this trunk full of shit at the psychiatric ward, which no longer is a psychiatric ward even.
No, that was a
and
room in the hotel, right?
No, it was a psychiatric
No.
ward.
That was the psychiatric ward.
Oh, that's right. Because the dude that slit his throat
right.
was like, go to the psychiatric. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So when she's there, woman does not go, my husband killed someone. My husband, one, has been tweaking out for the last like week or so. And now I've found out he had a whole other life and he actually killed someone. She doesn't go, let me find my son, get him the hell out away from my husband and sort this shit out. Instead, she goes straight back to him and tries to hide it, tries to bury or not bury, get the bones that were buried like what? And her like weird, like, professor friend just goes along with it.
Yeah.
Like no one's going, he killed a man or a woman. He killed someone.
He killed
Like,
someone and
what?
set someone up to take the fall for it. Yeah.
Right.
Wait, no, he didn't.
Well, he didn't. He didn't
set
necessarily
anyone
set
up.
it.
The
Set him
guy-
up. Yeah.
right.
He
It was
was
just
in the
poor- it was
hospital
just poor
because he like tried to
circumstances.
commit suicide.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, the guy comes in and he's like, "Let me touch this bloody
That's true.
knife,"
Right.
and then,
Right.
yeah, I think you're missing Kai. Let me mansplain this to you. I
Okay,
think you're
please.
missing.
I
I
love
think
to
you're
be
missing the power of
mansplained, too.
love. I think the power of love is the.
You
is
obviously
the,
never heard the Huey
that's the
Lewis
reason
song.
why she went. And
So, but let me ask you a question.
I'm joking.
Do you feel like you have to know someone to love someone? Because I think you do. And I would
Oh,
say
man.
you don't know this
That's
man.
true. I still just
If that's some shit
I
you
can't
found
get
out.
past the part like he's like how did he explain to her why he was leaving the psychiatric hospital that day when he bumped into her with the cake?
Well, he had amnesia, right? So like he didn't even know why he was there.
Right, because he actually tried to commit suicide himself.
Yeah.
Okay, that was that's not a script thing, but I gotta get back to the suicide moments at some point.
yeah.
Are you talking about the effects of it?
The effects of it, yes.
But yeah, he had amnesia. So, okay, here's where the debate is going to come in with this movie. I actually thought the latter half of the film was more coherent than the beginning. That's not saying much because the whole film isn't really coherent. But I will say the first half, I'm like laughing at it. And then the second half, I'm like, all right, where are you going to take this? And I knew I knew the twist already because I had seen it. And I was actually thinking that maybe when I was younger and watched it, when this came out, I was 15 or something like that. But I couldn't get past the fact that Jim Carrey, a comedic actor, was in a dramatic film.
I have a lot to say about that as well.
Yeah. So do I. But I think that colored my reception of the film at the time. So watching it this time, I'm like, maybe like I will be able to put that aside. But I will say the latter half of it gets. There was a brief moment where I'm like, I don't know where this is going. Like, I don't remember this at all. But like every single time the script starts to build on something that like is even remotely compelling, it does something stupid. Like you find out that the author's name is Top Secret, and I'm just
Well,
like, oh
I
my
actually
gosh.
liked that
Oh
part
my God.
because I hadn't seen the movie before, and until the guy goes, I wouldn't name my book, or I wouldn't name myself something as stupid as Top Secret, and then he looks down and it's Top Secrets,
Yeah.
and I would not have gotten that at all. Like I wouldn't have.
I noticed that the
and
first
I
time they
watched
showed the
this
book.
now.
It says at the bottom Top Secrets, and I was like, oh.
Listeners, Brian is the smartest man on this podcast.
Well,
Just saying.
that's a sad state of affairs if that's true.
But long-winded point. I what was infuriating with this watch is that there was elements of there, and this is why I think it's a bad good film. There are elements of the. I think there's elements of every single aspect of this film that has like a glimmer of like good hope, like for storytelling and filmmaking, but it's just I'm essentially just rephrasing what you're saying about your reference to Save the Cat. Like they're like, just strip it back, man. It doesn't need to be all
need
this.
as
It doesn't need to be all
much.
this. And like you bring me on this ride for like one solid scene, and I'm like, yeah, like let's figure out what
I would
is
also
going
be
on.
curious to read the actual just script because there's so much put on top of this movie, meaning effects and mainly meaning effects that because for the most part, I pretty much love Jim Carrey and his acting in most roles. And so I wondered, even his more, serious stuff, Truman Show, et cetera, et cetera. But so I kept trying to think about like these actors picking up this script and deciding this was something they wanted to work on.
Why?
Okay. So like, right, why one? Or was the script pretty different and then there was a lot that was put onto it
Yeah,
afterwards?
That's a
And
good point.
that's sort of my bad good film part of it.
I was reading that Robert De Niro apparently turned down the Jim Carrey role before they gave it to Jim Carrey. I feel like that was a good decision on his
dang.
part.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, he did Bad Grandpa. I don't know if his decision making for films.
Was that the one with
I don't know
Zac?
if his decision-
Was that the one with Zac Efron?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually thought that was kind of funny.
He was also in one of the worst films I think I've ever seen. Sorry to anyone who is. I feel like there's a huge fan base of Nancy Meyers fans, but he was in The Intern with Anne Hathaway, and I thought that was.
I never saw it.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't see it because it looked like I didn't want to see it.
Here's another question I have.
But I'm not a Anne Hathaway.
Another question I have about the story. So, Jim Carrey was dating. I can't remember what the woman he killed. I can't remember what her name is. What that character's name is. I know the actress's name, but I can't remember the character she was playing. But anyway, so like they were dating, right? And then the guy who ended up going to jail was her teacher. Is it not at all possible that?
Yeah.
Well, two things. First of all, he went to jail because his fingerprints were on the knife. Well, so would Jim Carrey's fingerprints have been on the knife, right? And since he was dating her, don't you think the
Touche.
cops at some point would have been like, oh, maybe he's a suspect too? Like, I understand they found the dude in the room or whatever, but that doesn't obviously clearly does not mean that he did it. But then also, don't you think there's a chance?
Well, they didn't find him in the room. He left.
They also maybe didn't know where Jim Carrey's character was because directly after that he tried to commit suicide and then ended up in a hospital. But you would think that the cops would find that out pretty easily.
Yeah, and don't you think that's another sign this guy's got like guilt or remorse from killing his girlfriend that he tried to then kill himself? Maybe that's another sign that he did it.
Also, did no one look in the room that he jumped out of?
Nobody looked
Like,
out
it
the
was
window.
Scribbled all on the wall.
Right. Right. Yes, and the fact that 13 years later it's still there, and the guy just says that corny line about the plumbing. The plumbing doesn't. Okay, that too. The guy goes to give him. So for people who haven't seen this movie in a long time, I'll just set this up. So Jim Carrey at some point when he's like getting some paranoia and he's restless and he wakes up at night and after having this horrible dream about killing his wife, he leaves her a little note that says, I just need to clear my head for the night. Please stay with me or something like that, which is very corny.
Don't
at
give
that
up
No,
on
it
me.
was like your dog catcher.
Don't give up on me.
Don't give up on me. That's what it was.
Signed, your dog catcher. Your dog
Which is
catching
also
husband.
like, why
Your
would you
dog-
say don't give up on me? Like, she didn't know that he was a psycho killer. Yeah, like
Especially at that point. Exactly.
yeah, they just-
and neither did he. But then especially at that point in the movie, it's not
wasn't.
it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, especially when they're giving us dates where it's only 5 days from his actual birthday.
yeah, he
and
could have just
that
been having a
was, like, day
midlife
2,
crisis.
Right? So day 2 he has a bad
Yeah,
right, anything, but don't give up on me. And then so then he goes to the hotel room that he keeps having sort of dreams or visions about and goes to the clerk's desk and the clerk goes to give him room 27 and he says, can I how about room 23? And the clerk says, no, that one's got some plumbing issues. Cut to he's in
Yeah.
room 23. So like what? Don't tell us no.
Did it cut to that?
And then he's in the room.
I thought he grabbed 23. I thought he like reluctantly was like, and then grabbed the number.
No,
23.
it just cuts straight to him being in room 23. I watched it this morning, but pretty sure that's
I don't remember. I'm gonna be real. Maybe the latter half of the film was a lot better for me because I was only like 30% paying attention at that point. That might be why, that might be why I'm staking my claim in that the latter half of the film is better.
This is one of those films I don't even care to argue about. I'm like, all right, because of the same reason. Because at some point I just sort of checked out. I was like, what am I watching? Oh, we're going back into
Yeah, well,
noir
that's the other
spiral
thing. Like
again, and
with the
there's
noir
blood
spiral,
everywhere on
and you sort of
everything.
touched on this guy that maybe it wasn't as obvious in the script as much as like with what they did with it, like on set and in post. But the noir, like I called it the crime noir, or whatever you want to call it, kind of pieces made it feel like two different movies also. And like I get what they were going for, but it felt like it became Sin City, right? That's the movie, right? Um, yeah. It felt like it became like Sin
Yeah.
City in a way, whereas the other part of the movie, when it was in the quote real world of the movie, felt like it was trying to be like a horror thriller. It felt like two different movies, which was part of like the kind of incoherent mess for me.
I could actually get behind that though. I could get behind the like two different like styles that they were going for to like truly tell. Like I think that's more of the planning of like this film has so many twists and turns. Like from the maker's perspective, you're thinking that. So it's like, how do we make it clear to the viewer who may not be following that like this is real world, this is not real world. So
Yeah.
I I could get behind the use of that as like a storytelling device.
So are we moving on?
It just doesn't look good. But yes, that is a great
That's
segue,
totally the way I
Brian,
planned it.
Yeah.
to not the part that we should be going to, but we could do it next anyways. We are doing the technical side
Yeah.
of this film. And then we will end with acting.
Yeah, great.
Cool.
Let's do that because I think what you just said. I liked the film noir, especially being a person that's never seen the movie and going into the first half of it. I was like, okay, I had to keep in mind this movie was made in 2007 because the noir aspects were quite cheesy, but I think they were appropriate of 2007. And it kind of drew me in. I'm like, okay, I'm understanding. I do really one part, and I guess this is sort of script and technical, that I like about the story is the idea that this guy sort of that we're in his feet while he's letting this book affect him. And I have had books where, well, the month I'm reading it or whatever, it feels like it's in my subconscious, like it's in my psyche, and I'm noticing different things out in the world because the character in the book is noticing these certain things. Or I'm melodramatic about my relationship because the characters I'm reading about are melodramatic about their relationship, right? Like I don't know if you guys have seen the show Normal People, but I read that book a couple of years ago for a book club and I was very hot and cold in my relationship at that moment. Reading this book. But so I really enjoyed that as a storytelling element and really setting our feet into our main character who is sort of letting this piece of art overtake him. And so then I kind of liked the element of using the film noir because I imagined you're seeing what he's seeing, the world that he's setting up, and in it he's this dude with tattoos and like, he's bad. The only thing there though is that I wish they had done his hair differently because one, he was a dog catcher, and two, that hair, I just kept thinking,
Yeah, me
Carrie
too.
Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, in
Yeah.
both worlds. Because one,
really?
he's a dog catcher in the like normal world, and film noir world, they did his hair almost exactly like not almost
Yeah.
exactly. It doesn't have the big poof, but it's slicked back in the same way that I kept thinking Ace
Yeah,
Ventura is in a
me
film
too.
noir.
I had the same thought.
It was bad.
I I I agree with everything you're saying about the noir sections, or what we're calling the noir sections. My issue with it though, like kind of touching back on what Brian was saying, like I could get behind the use of it.
Yeah,
I just don't
I
think it was
agree.
done well. Like I thought it was film noir, but also it was very comic book esque. And I just feel like it should have just picked one or the other. Definitely not comic book-esque, in my opinion. They should have just went full film noir. But like it almost felt like we were literally I could have made this up in my head, but was there a moment where it like went out of one panel and then went
I
to
don't
another
remember that,
panel?
but
Or some
it
sort of
might have, but I
transition
don't
like that?
remember.
Well, that's exactly how like my brain was like interpreting it. Like we're going from like comic vignette panel to comic vignette panel, and like that like didn't jive well with like the Blondie, don't lie to me. Like noir aspect, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
just pick a tone.
Right. I yes, there is also that there when he goes when he follows the dog to the grave site later and like towards the very end of the movie, and the priest is standing at the grave and he
Mhm.
sees the actual the film noir sort of device that they were using is on that scene as well, but that was supposed to be normal real world. So but it was so close to the end of the movie, I wondered if they were using it as a like the worlds are converging now, so he seems normal, but now but like so you don't so now you don't we've been showing you it's either this or it's that, it's either this or it's that throughout the film. Now we're getting to the point where we're about to reveal that both of these worlds are his worlds because he actually is the killer and the dude that wrote the book. So so then they take the normal world, but there's this sort of mask around it. It's really lightly shot and it's got that like weird foggy sort of appearance like some of the noir shots we're doing.
I'll buy that.
So I wondered if that was a device they were using to like sort of cross pollinate the two worlds. I didn't enjoy it. I'm just saying I think that's what they were doing.
Yeah, I'll buy it because I think it's possible, but also just because I'll try to give the producers and directors and whatever the benefit of the doubt for it just not being more of a shit show than it already was.
Yeah, I mean it's clear. I for a movie like this, there is that element for me that's like, and why I say bad good is is because I think that to make something like this, people are they're trying their best to like be creative and how do we tell this story and how do we and so knowing like being on film sets or being in a moment where you're trying to make this film and you have this really unique story and with this great twist, and what sort of technical things can we use and how do we do this and how do we make this, and then stepping back a year later and being like, what the fuck are we doing? You know, I've done that before, and I feel like that is this film.
I think the people behind it is part of the reason I am so like, you like Joel Schumacher. I mean, I feel like he gets a bad rap for like the Batman movies because they were just so horrifically bad.
Hey, Batman and Robin is incredible because it has Alicia Silverstone.
I loved them. By the way, loved them.
Yeah, but it had nipple Batman costume, which
sexy, and that is the woman on the podcast.
And the Batman Visa card. It's just, oh my gosh, I can't.
Well, he's got an
Didn't he do
element
8mm?
of cheese to like all of his movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I feel like he's so, like he's made some bangers. And then on the other hand, it's like you know, Batman.
He did 2 Batman movies.
Where like George Clooney literally paid people not to watch it.
I liked those Batman.
Hey, look, I liked it too because I was 5. But like,
you're right, correct. I kept thinking with this movie, I was like, okay, at what age
None.
would I have enjoyed watching the number 23? And I was like, 7th grade. 7th grade, I would have been like, ooh, yeah.
I think this is great intro psychological thriller for like the middle schooler who's like, I'm so like smart.
Edgy.
Yeah. And like, yeah. But like I can't watch 7 yet. Or
Right.
like
There was
I can't watch
depends
Identity
on
yet.
what household you grew
Wait,
up in.
yeah. But like, yeah. But like even 7 brings in like the morality issues to it. Like it's more heady than just a like, who's the serial killer and why are they doing it.
There's some movie with Johnny Depp that's like a
Secret
angel
Window?
devil that came out when I was in middle school, so it would have been 2000.
1984.
Shut up. No, it would have been like 2000. There was something about this movie and that reminded me of that movie, of like when I went back and watched it, years later, it was like, this was not good. But at the time I was like, ooh, it's mysterious and dark and they're doing all these crazy things and my mind is exploding,
And you went into Christopher Walken again.
He's my favorite when I'm trying to explain things.
I know exactly what age I would have loved this movie at. 23.
Oh.
Oh, you dork. Or 32 because it's 23 reversed.
Or
That's true.
46
That's true.
because it's
But
double.
as-
No, I'm just kidding.
Or when I was 1 + 1 and 1 + 1 + 1. That age.
3?
I'm keeping all of this in.
You should. This is the goal.
What were we talking about? I don't even remember what the point was.
Because
the
our
people behind
faces
it.
are
While we're
all
on the-
jumbled. Because this movie jumbles faces.
Yeah, it's all part of the theme of this podcast, listeners.
That's
That's
true.
what we're going. We're
We don't
going off
know.
of the movie theme here. You're not supposed to know what we're talking about or what's going on. You should question the reason why you're listening to this at least a few times, like we did while watching the movie.
Why am I still listening? to
What
this
life choices have I
podcast?
done that led me to this moment right now? Wait, I wanted to get in though really quick with the technical. There were a few bullet points I wanted to hit. The people behind it, and that was the tangent because we went on the Joel Schumacher tangent. But Matthew Libatwit, oh, I'm butchering his last name. Libatwit.
Can you show it to me? Maybe I know.
It's French. It's a French ass name.
Le Betois. No, let me see. Where is it?
Oh, sorry. It's like down there.
Matthew
It's like the first bullet.
Libatique.
Yes.
Libatique.
Yes.
I'm butchering it too.
But he's like a master DP. Like he did he's partnered with Darren Aronofsky quite a bit. He did Requiem for a Dream, which was like insanely
Ooh,
beautifully
yeah.
shot. He did The Black Swan. He's done like some really good stuff. And going into what I also thought was the best part of the whole film, the title sequence. When I saw that on the title and like saw the other people that were in this film, because I forgot Virginia Madsen was in it,
Madsen.
and then the professor. I'm blanking on his name.
Danny
Yes.
Danny Houston.
I love
Is that
him
it?
as well, and I completely forgot they were in this because I only ever think that it's Jim Carrey's really bad film, unfortunately. So like watching the title sequence, I'm like, oh my gosh, I might like this movie. Like it might happen. The title sequence though, I thought was just
Yeah.
amazing. Like so good.
Yeah, that was fun. That was really cool.
So good.
I didn't think much of it. I mean, it didn't stick out to me one way or another, but I'm glad that you both enjoyed it. Jesus, Travis. You are
Well, we
having
both had the same
trouble
thought that it
over there.
reminded us of
Yeah,
Seven.
yeah. And a lot of like what Kevin
Yeah.
Cooper, the title designer, like has done since Seven. But did either of you notice when you were watching the title sequence, did you have the letterboxing for like 2:3:9 aspect ratio, and then as soon as the titles were done, it like went away and then it was full screen?
I don't recall
remember.
that happening.
Okay, so this is Travis's section of the podcast where I get to nerd out. That was almost like in my head, it was almost like it should have been like a like the title sequence was so good, and it's in the cinematic standard 2:3:9 aspect ratio, and then the aspect ratio letterbox is just like went away, and then it was like 16:9, like if I was watching a freaking Lifetime movie or something,
Oh, weird.
and it was full screen, like the movie. And I'm like, I don't know if this is just like the version I'm watching or like if that was an actual deliberate choice. But I'm like, the fact that you're going from
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
the cinematic standard to like the TV standard. And I doubt I doubt Joel Schumacher was like, we should shoot this in 16:9. Like, we should make this
Where did you watch it?
off of Tubi.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. That's where I
Okay,
watched it.
so-
We
yeah.
all watched it with commercials in it.
Yeah.
Commercials,
Okay.
Ad breaks.
So then y'all also saw it too.
Yeah, but at least we didn't have to pay for it though.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
That was the point for me. Like when that title sequence ended and the aspect ratios changed, I was like, oh my gosh, okay. Like the title sequence were a roller coaster for me. It was like, this is going to be amazing. And then back to like, never mind.
Right.
Like,
I
because aspect ratios are so important to me. Like so important.
I don't know anything about them or understand why.
How important are they?
So important.
Like,
So if y'all will allow me to get a little bit more nerdy,
okay, sure.
there's a book called Medium is the Message, and it was written by Marshall McLuhan. And he's actually in, if either of you have ever seen it, Annie Hall. The scene where Woody Allen is at the theater and he literally pulls the old man to like explain something. That's Marshall McLuhan.
Okay.
And he's actually referencing the book, The Medium is the Message. So like in the book, he's essentially just talking about like the most important thing that about any like thing that you're trying to relate to someone is the medium in which you're like relaying it. So when you present a film, it's like when you present it in the 2:3:9 aspect ratio, which is like the cinema standard, people automatically are like, all right, this is like a film. Like how you're choosing to present that is so important to like the viewer's subconscious. Like not. That's why immediately when you like take that away, I'm like, I'm watching like Criminal Minds.
I actually love that you know that, because each new sort of thing that I learn about film or filmmaking or that I notice from being on the set, every time I then watch a movie, I see things that can take me out of the movie. But then when I'm not taken out of the movie, it's such a delightful experience because whatever the thing is like seamless, as
Yeah.
you're saying. Yeah.
Aspect ratio changes is one of the things that like I feel like everyone has like the nitpick thing of like, if that happens in a film, like it completely takes me out and it reminds me that I'm watching a movie. Aspect ratio changes are like, why? Why?
So I have one of those
Why?
things that happened in this movie that's a technical aspect, which
Go for
was just the lighting sources.
Yeah.
Where is
Yeah.
this room or being lit from? Like, I literally wrote, where are all the lighting sources coming from in giant letters? Specifically, she goes into the institute at night, this dark old, they're in the middle of nowhere, it's been broken down, and she finds the like main office room that she's tearing through, and it's all of a sudden looks like it's daylight outside, and they
Yes.
did not
Yeah.
decide to hide it. And I'm like, well, wait, has she been there all night? But then the next shot, it's clear that this is supposed to be like
Yeah.
right away, and she's still gonna come home that evening. There was stuff like that throughout
I was
the
so
whole movie.
enthralled with the story at that time. I did not notice
Yeah.
that at all.
There was a light change but I also noticed it, so I shouldn't have noticed it. But it was actually pretty cool. Was when Jim Carrey wakes up at 11:12 before wandering off, and I think this is his. So he does this twice, wakes up at 11:12, but the first time he does it is the actual dream sequence moment. So the light source here makes sense, which is why I actually noticed it but liked it. He goes downstairs and he stops at the bottom of his stairs, and he's in his apartment, and you can see him like in the hallway, and he's lit in frame, and then he like turns his head almost like he hears something, and the light source switches so that where he turns to lights up and he goes dark. And it was so seamless, or I guess it wasn't seamless if I noticed it, but I really enjoyed, like, there were a couple things like that I noticed within the dream sequences or the noir parts of the film that I actually did like. But then during the normal world, I kept being like, okay, you cannot, if you want us to believe that we are now in normal world, you have to establish normal lighting, because it's driving me nuts. I don't know, especially in a movie where we're going through so many different things and we're in two different worlds. It's of the utmost importance to establish what time of day, where we're at, what's going on.
My biggest issue with the lighting, and I don't know if it was something with Tubi or, because I was watching on calibrated monitors, so like it shouldn't have been my monitors, but the whole thing overall just felt too dark to me. Like that scene where she's in the psychiatric hospital, there were a couple shots where I literally could not see her. Like I didn't know what I was looking at because it just looked like blackness on the screen. So I don't know if that was just me.
That didn't happen for me.
I didn't have that issue
That
either.
didn't. We neither of us had that issue.
So maybe it was something with the way it was streaming on my browser or something. I don't know.
Maybe you need to calibrate your monitor again.
Check your shit.
I just said I was watching on calibrated monitors, so it's not the monitors.
Calibrated monitors fall out of calibration every so often.
Shut your mouth, Travis.
You should do it probably once a month. Just saying. Listeners out there, if you have a calibrated monitor, you should do it once a month. Speaking of which, last thing, at least the last note that I have for technical before we move on. The production design I thought was, I don't want to say great, but like above average. The reason I say that is because there were so many hidden 23s. And I thought that was really cool that they were super. Maybe they spent all their time like figuring out like how the hell are we going to hide 23 in this shot?
No, there were, and that actually goes back to your talking about the DP and some of the shots. There is that when he first starts seeing them everywhere on stop signs, on this, on that, and there's like a 2 and then a 3 on something else. There was some pretty cool. I would agree. There's some pretty cool moments.
Even before that though, before he even started reading the book, there's a wide establishing shot of their house, and their license plate is 23. Like it's not just 23, but it adds up to 23.
Right. Oh.
And that's what made me like jot the note down.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shoot, okay. Like so intentional with your production design. Like that's
I'm into that.
There were a lot of
like,
little
I
Easter
totally
eggs.
get behind that.
And like, is that in the script, or was that like?
Yeah. I still want to know why she painted the damn wall red though.
I was thinking that same thing. That's an awful color.
The only thing I was thinking is that it matches the book cover, but like
Well,
why?
also because he explains at some point that red equals something about red equals
5.
23. Remember, he has that.
No, I know, but like,
Oh,
why
you're
did
asking
she?
why did she in the
Yeah.
first place? Because it follows
Because
him.
number 23.
It follows him everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, I will say though, just last technical note, I really just I have 2 things. One, the suicides, the amount of blood that was already out and pooled in both times that we watched a person just land, and there's just all of a sudden a massive pool of like we cut to, and the blood isn't pooling. It looks like they've been laying in a pool of blood, and there's no twitching or like they're just completely dead. And and the blood looked fake every scene that the blood was in, and specifically Jim Carrey's character has blood on him in several shots where it like looks like child paint.
Is there only blood in the heightened stylized world? We don't see any
No.
blood in the real world.
Yes,
do
we do.
Yeah, when he commits suicide, that's the real world.
Oh, when that guy slits his throat.
Yes, the guy slits his
Oh,
throat.
that
Jim
too.
Carrey commits suicide. Later, after I don't know. There was some time in the end of the movie where I couldn't understand why he had blood on him, but it was like regular Jim Carrey blood hands.
Was it because he was bitten?
Maybe I just remember being like, why does he have blood? And then like the other thing was like props. There were weird moments of like the guy that slits his neck. We don't actually see right away that he's holding what I assume is a box cutter, but then he's like waving it at Jim Carrey, so we assume that he has something. And then also later his wife then has a knife in her purse. Their like kitchen knife, which I was like, she's just carrying that randomly.
Well,
and then
she said it's because she didn't know if they needed it for the guy that they were meeting.
Right. Yeah.
And I could totally see my wife, like, if she
A
did, like,
kitchen knife though, you wouldn't like you just stick a giant kitchen butcher knife in your purse.
Okay, sorry.
And, like,
I don't
why would
understand.
you go with your husband to do that if that's the kind of thing you thought you needed? And bring your son. What a
that's true.
terrible mother. If you
Because
think you need a butcher knife in your purse,
they know that he's having unprotected sex by himself,
So
or
let
not
the
by
little-
himself, when he's by himself.
so let him.
He's not having unprotected sex by himself. They know what he's doing, so they got to take him.
They have to take him with
After
them.
that scene,
That's
he
true.
was with them everywhere
That's
they went.
true.
I didn't pick up on that.
I actually have one thing that I just thought about going back to the story or script, if I might, real quick.
We shall allow.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The guy
Mhm.
at the store who's picking up the boxes.
Yeah.
So they do that because they're trying to get his attention. So why did they send, I understand why they sent 23, but why did they have to be gigantic cardboard boxes filled with nothing but packing popcorn?
They were 2 foot by 3 foot boxes.
But why not just
For
send them
23.
empty?
They could have sent anything, and as long as there was 23 of them, it would have gotten the guy's attention. You could have sent him boxes of Peeps, and as long as it was 23 boxes of Peeps, it would have had his attention.
Also, if you're just gonna go in directly after you send him the 23 boxes, literally before the man even knows that there's like 23 full boxes, and show him the book that says the number 23 and say, "You wrote this, didn't you?"
Yeah.
Why send the 23 boxes in the first place? Why not just go in and say, "You wrote this, didn't you?"
I mean, the bigger question is why
Well, that is a good question.
why did they even publish the book?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
get it.
What? I didn't even think of
Oh,
that. I
really?
mean, no, sorry,
at the end of the
I'm
movie, I was
squealing
like,
because
at the
how
end of
could
the
not
movie, I
think
was
of
like,
that?
well, why did they even publish the book?
Right. But not they, but the
Top
nutty
secrets.
professor.
But also, like, could you even say it was technically, like, officially published? It was just this one copy that I feel like this
It was
dude.
self-published. Wait, it was only one copy?
Yeah,
And
his
it
doctor
wasn't
did.
self-published because he didn't publish it. His psychiatric doctor did.
No, but like the doctor had it self-published. As in, like, he didn't go through a publishing house to have it
Got it.
printed, and
Got
like,
it.
he didn't go through a.
Right. Travis's wife is actually
Yeah,
in
my
publishing.
my wife's a literary agent, so I know.
Yeah, it seemed like he just had the one copy made that he then just, like, placed on the shelf at a random bookstore.
Yeah, I mean, it's very convenient. The only thing that I'm thinking that could bridge that gap is like he had it self-published and he distributed it himself to like all the local bookstores. Because like I could see that. Like if you're in like a
But why? This made me nuts.
100%. I have no idea.
So let's share it with everyone else.
Yeah.
If they like, see,
I have no
that
idea.
could have been a really simple, interesting story. If like, okay, we find the book, we sort of recognize what happened. We go on that trail, but not with like Jim Carrey reading it. But then it's more like midway through, we understand that there's one of these books in like 23 bookstores around the area, and like why and who printed them and why did this person print them, and that person printed them because they thought they needed to, because it was the only way to get out of the cycle. Like that's the thing too, we don't have any understanding of what the hell anybody thinks 23 is or means or why it's bad. Like, okay,
Yeah.
so what if that I wrote, who the fuck cares if the number 23 is in all this stuff? Who
Yeah.
cares? Why is it? Why?
Yeah.
Why is that gonna make? Why?
Yeah.
Ugh.
It just reminded me of like the golden ratio, which I don't know if you two know what the golden ratio is, but it's like the golden ratio is like everywhere. So I'm like,
that
is
you
there
just wanted
people-
to explain it and then didn't?
No, I'm like, is there people out there that are obsessed with the golden ratio that are just like trying to figure out like everything that has a golden ratio?
But like going mad,
Probably.
and killing people
That's what
due
I'm saying.
to
Like,
the golden ratio.
are they out there?
Probably.
Yo, if you're out there listening to this right now and you're going mad about the golden ratio, write to us and let us know.
You're probably the only one still listening.
Finally, they did the number
Yeah.
23. I don't understand. I feel like
Should we go on
we
to
should
acting?
move.
Yeah,
I feel like
let's
I'm
do
just
it.
gonna get into nitpicks, so we should just go into acting.
Yes.
Okay, so last section is acting. I will start this by saying that the best actor in this entire film
Dog.
is Ned.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ned.
Can we talk? I mean, obviously, I know.
Brian is ready.
So I know it's obviously movie magic with the editing, the scene where the dog basically stares down Jim Carrey in the car. But that dog has got a set of balls on him to just stand there and be like, "Yo, I know you're not gonna hit me, bro."
Oh my gosh, Oscar worthy. Did not flinch.
Well, I mean,
I
not
still don't
flinch.
believe that dog was real
like in
in
the
this
movie world.
at all. In either world, dog's not real. Fantastical dog, because he was glowing
It's just
the
like
whole time.
it's just like Andy. It's just like Andy Serkis in a mocap thing the whole time, or what?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, Andy Serkis was did a lot of the apes in Planet of the Apes, and then he was also Golem.
Oh, yes.
He did
yes.
Gollum, yeah.
No. I just mean that like it was this sort of fantastical angel element of the movie. Like he was
Yeah, so
there to
unnecessary.
help Jim Carrey throughout the whole thing figure out that he'd done this thing so that the guy in jail could be released. And then he's sort of standing there at the end, but not even really with anyone, the dog again. So to me, I was sort of having the whole time I was questioning, does anyone else actually see this dog?
Well,
Or
the,
is this
the groundskeepers
Yeah.
do, right? Because they're like, he's the
Right, but
dog of
that moment too was
Graves.
the only other moment where the lighting, that's the part that I was explaining earlier, where the lighting looks all noir-y again, but we're set in the real
Oh,
world.
So are those people even real?
Well, I mean, they are, I suppose, because they're at the.
Oh my gosh, this is so much deeper than we thought. I'm gonna launch a new
But
podcast.
to your point, yes, continue. It's good.
Yeah. I mean, Ned, well, I just want to say he had a set of balls on him
Yeah.
to be able to stare down that car
Agreed.
like that.
Agreed.
And just not even blink. He didn't twitch. He didn't bark. He just stood there.
Were they as large as his pecs?
No, nothing is as large
Probably.
as those pecs. Nothing is as large as those pecs. Yeah, otherwise the acting in this movie, not great.
I will say I thought Virginia Madsen and Kai, you might be able to relate with this. I felt like she could get there, but like she had the scene partner that wasn't giving her what she needed to get there.
Yeah.
And the script and the
Yes.
scene.
Yeah. But like I feel like there were moments, especially when like the knife was to her neck and all that in the end, when she was like, "Kill me" or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved her in the film noir parts when she played as
that
saucy
too, and
Mick's
the fact that
girlfriend.
she like was able to do those both roles and like really well compared to like Jim Carrey in both roles. I felt like she just needed help.
I felt like
Yeah.
she needed a new script. I really it was hard.
But even
so
the tearful
much.
moments, like even besides the script, in the moment as an actor, like the
I
love of my
agree.
life might kill me right now. Has the knife to my neck, and she's like almost close to crying, and she's like, just do it, and then like she has to look at Jim Carrey, be like,
Right.
I can't
Yes.
do it. So it's like, of course I can't get there. Like,
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I also want to say I think it's the direction
oh,
all the way
100%,
through for the
100%.
actors, because I think yeah, it's they're like tone of this movie. I mean, I don't even want to say tone because I felt like it had its own unique tone. But like to then figure out what that was as an actor, and I liked everyone better in the noir world. I actually liked Jim Carrey's voiceover throughout the movie. At first I didn't, and then I sort of started to enjoy that part of it. But no,
But no.
no, right away I saw him, like I was explaining earlier, as
Mhm.
like as when we find out he's
Control.
an animal
Jim Carrey's an
Animal
animal?
control or something,
no,
yeah.
an animal dog catcher.
Oh,
When we
oh,
find Jim
got it. I'm like, dang, he's an animorph?
Yeah, I missed that part. He is the dog.
He is Ned.
He is Ned.
That's why he didn't
Um,
flinch. He actually wasn't there.
Right.
Yeah.
Um
So much better. That's like a better movie right there.
right, because why make him a dog catcher? Like and why have the dog? There could have been a million other ways to get us into this movie that wouldn't have some magical dog. Anyways, okay. So watching Jim Carrey as the dog catcher, I immediately, the way that he carried his body, everything
Yeah.
was very Cable Guy-esque, it was just there was like he was still, this was at the point in his career too, I think, where he was still like he was transitioning into doing darker movies.
He had already done Truman Show. He did Man on the Moon by this point.
Well, he had already done.
Yeah, had he done
Yeah.
the Truman Show?
He had
Oh,
already
wow.
done. Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind.
Okay, then maybe it was
I-
then
I chalk
going
it up
back
to
to
direction, like you said.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I don't
it
blame
was
Jim
like
Carrey on this.
neither of them seemed like they were finding the grounding, right, of these characters. Where am I? Who am I? Who is this person in their skin, in their body?
Yeah.
But then I also think that's because the words on the script don't give you that. There's no depth to them. It's like there was the writing didn't have the elements where you go, oh, they're saying this, but actually they mean that. And that's how human beings talk. We say a lot of stuff without ever saying the thing that we actually mean. And so, as actors, the good, meaty stuff is to be in a scene where you're saying one thing, but you know that your motivation is something else, or and the subtext, right? And this movie, literally, Jim Carrey's character is saying all the things. As soon as he realizes something, he says it. They're all the kid too, all of them. It's just, and so that's script, that's direction, that's it was not great.
Yeah. I there's a moment in the beginning when he's trying to close the dog catcher door, and it's like stuck, and he's like, and then he
right.
to his van. He's like
Right.
trying to close the door.
Yeah.
Because he gets the call from the woman that
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And he
weird
like
bit
tries
of it.
to what?
I forgot about that weird bit of it. Yeah, go on.
Well, that weird woman as well. Like
Right.
one of my
Like,
favorite
that
lines in
didn't
the
need to
whole
be in there
film
either.
was the woman when she was trying to seduce him at the Christmas party or whatever, and she was like, "Wag your tail at me," and I'm like,
yeah.
"What
Yeah.
the?
She's
what?
like, I'll be your bitch. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
no, do me in the bitch room."
Right. That's what it was.
I'm like, what is this movie? But when he tries to close the
Yeah,
door,
he like kicks it
like
and
he does like physical comedy with it, and I'm like,
Right.
this just doesn't.
yeah.
But
He like kicks it and then he like closes it, and I'm like, that's where I see like Ace Ventura, or like that's where I see like the physical comedy of him. And I'm like, even if that wasn't planned, if like legitimately he's like in the moment and like the door's not
Yeah.
closing, like just don't put that in.
right.
Like,
But
just don't put that
that's
in
the
the edit.
hard part, right? If you are someone like Jim Carrey, who is notoriously known
Yeah.
for physical,
You want to take out all
bits.
traces of that,
Right. And
Yeah.
so that and then you need to work with somebody, a director, someone that's going to see that and bite you on it.
And the last movie he like partnered with Joel Schumacher with was Batman, where he played the Riddler.
Right.
So it was very much like, I mean, R.I.P. Joel, but like, I don't know what he was thinking with like the direction of like a lot of these acting.
Yeah, I mean that's where I think, because there are a number of people in this movie who I would consider good actors, and then to see the product that ended up on the screen, you know, kind of like you were saying, Kai, makes me think it's more script and directing, because these people have proven that they can act. Like I said, Jim Carrey had already done Man on the Moon, he'd already done Truman Show, like he had proven he can do something other than comedy. But he was kind of shitty in this. So, you know, and listen, like even like going back to the number 23, even Michael Jordan missed a shot from time to time.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah. there was one moment, sorry, to cut you
Rude.
off. You said that and it reminded me there was this one moment where his wife says something being like, "No, you're just making up stuff and this book is ridiculous," or whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Prove it to the court." And it was the way he said it. I was like, liar, liar. So there was like so many moments throughout where I was like, there's Jim Carrey in this
Yeah.
role, there's Jim Carrey in that role, but never was I like, and here's Jim Carrey in 23.
When he's scribbling on the wall, I was waiting for him to like scribble on his face and be like, "The pen is blue."
yeah, and part of that is like obviously him being a victim of his own success to a certain extent.
Totally.
But
Yeah.
he's also proven, as I just mentioned in those other movies, he had proven at this point that he is capable of acting in ways that don't remind you of Ace Ventura or The Mask or whatever it is. But he didn't do it in this movie.
We're gonna chalk up like acting to like a lot of it was probably just direction, but
Yeah.
except for Logan Lerman, the kid.
Yeah.
I'm half joking, half like, oh man. And that brings us to one last like final thing. We said we were gonna do nitpicks.
Oh yeah.
which we didn't do last time.
Let me tell you, I feel like I nitpicked this whole movie throughout our conversation.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like I've already done my Festivus airing of grievances.
But if you feel like
throughout the last hour,
yeah, my nitpick was the pool of blood thing. But you can nitpick. You have a list, so go for
I
it.
don't. I only have like 3.
that constitutes a list.
All right, I have some nitpicks actually.
Okay. My first and very important nitpick for the nitpick section is the final shot when he's in prison. Like, come on, representation. Why is everyone black and brown?
I didn't
Every single person in the
notice
prison except for
that.
Jim Carrey is black and brown.
I didn't notice that
And I'm like-
because he had that like smirky, it's all gonna be okay face on, and I'm going, dude, you were in prison.
Yeah, you're gonna get life.
I didn't notice that because I was just thinking she had his arm around him, and I didn't know guests were allowed to touch the prisoners when they were visiting in prison. And I just couldn't stop thinking about that.
If it's a contact visit, you're allowed to.
Well, I haven't spent any time in prison, so I wouldn't know. I'm not saying you have.
Going personal. I've visited quite a few, so like
Gotcha.
I have had the experience of like having full contact. I've done the window with the phone, and I've done full contact. And like full contact, will be able, like, you're in a cafe. It's like very similar to, like, they got the vibe of it right, but I was just
Yeah.
like, why is everyone just black and brown? Like, come on, we need some diversity in here. But not like those were literally the only black and brown people
yeah.
in the whole film. They were the prisoners.
Screwed up.
That's my big nitpick.
That's a good nitpick. Yours is like political and like
The other
him
thing,
coming
did
from a good
anyone catch
place.
the
And my nit-
racist Asian joke?
Oh, in the beginning?
Yeah, it's like towards the beginning, and I'm like, oh, that was
What?
pretty racist.
Where was it?
I don't know, but I wrote it down that it was
You wrote
racist.
racist Asian joke. Do you remember, Brian, where it was?
So the only thing I sort of remember, and I don't know if this is what you're talking about, Trav, is when he's walking through the restaurant in the very beginning, the first time he encounters Ned.
Yes.
Right? Is that when it was?
Yes.
Yeah. And the guy was like speaking, but he
What
was
does he
No.
say?
wasn't it like the
Oh, yes, I noticed that too.
No,
That
when he puts the thing around Ned's neck, and then he's like, "I'll leave you here because the Chinese people eat dogs," and I'm
Right.
like,
oh yeah
right.
right
and we're supposed to be on his side here?
Right. If we're right, that's a perfectly fine thing to write into a script. If
Oh, okay.
if that's if that is a showcase of who this guy is.
Yeah.
And then we think, oh, maybe he's a little seedy, maybe he's a little like,
Yeah.
but that's not who the character was that they were writing.
Which is like the weird dichotomy they were trying to like paint with the whole thing. It's like this like character he's reading in the book is not him. Like they're trying to trick you.
right.
But it's like, but also he's kind of an a-hole
Right.
yeah
at the same time. But he's like cool dad.
Right.
And like the wife is like, you would never hurt me. But yeah, the racist jokes. I was like, this didn't.
Sit well with you.
Yeah. Especially given the times. And I'm just like,
Well,
not
right.
so much.
That's when you have to go
Not so much.
2007 versus
yeah it was not the
Yeah.
time
Right.
14 years
The other
ago.
thing, my last nitpick that I have, because I wanted to keep it brief, and this kind of goes to like your angel dog theory, but like there was one shot where he chases them back to the gravesite, and he has the gun and it stays on him, and he's looking at it. He's like, all right, stay still, I'm gonna shoot you. And then like he says, where'd he go? And I'm like, did the dog just disappear?
right.
Because like it didn't change shots.
Right.
It didn't like his attention didn't like turn away or
Right.
like anything
I
like that.
noticed
So
that
he has
too.
the gun at the dog, and then he's like, where'd he go? And I'm like, so he just you just saw
And-
him evaporate.
Right. And it was such a like weird moment that I was like, okay, they did that and it doesn't matter, or they just figured it didn't matter in editing because we're going to have a big reveal moment right here where, oh, he's going to step on a grave and realize it's his mother's grave and she died 23 years ago or something. I was like, there's going to be something big right here because and then there wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, since you're talking about that, the professor has not, like, he's supposed to be, I mean, if she was 23, he should be older. And then like now it's been 15 years later. So like he should be like
Older. Yeah,
and then
yeah.
him and Jim Carrey are talking, and I'm like, y'all are the same age.
Well, right. Jim
But
Carrey
like
was
Jim
supposed
Carrey was
to be
supposed to be
younger.
in, like in the same. He was supposed to be 23 as well.
Right.
So I'm like, he should be not
a lot of problems.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Right. Are
Okay.
those your nitpicks?
Yeah, go for it.
I just had one. Well,
Okay.
I actually have a nitpick, and then I actually have like a favorite part of the movie. Can I do both?
Sure.
Okay. So my nitpick is that when he again, this whole section just was I think this was just the section that started to clue me into what a fuck of a movie I don't know, a mind fuck of a movie I was watching, was that same section 11:12 at night when he wakes up from the dream, but then the second time he wakes up realizes his dream is like sort of coming real, and he leaves to go to the hotel. He literally gets up, and then we hear the car start immediately. His wife wakes up immediately. She immediately sees this note. So, okay, I'll believe that he took the time to like write the note, whatever, even though it was so quick. And then he walks in his bed. He was in pajamas. Then he walks into this hotel room fully dressed with a bag full of stuff. And I'm like, when did you have time to pack this bag, sir, and get dressed? Because with the timing that they just showed us, you just walked down your stairs and got in your car. So where did all this, you have a bag packed in your, and like, what is in the bag? What are you, and then all of a sudden he's out of that hotel room wandering through, oh no, he's just all of a sudden out of that hotel room, walks and it's like the next day, and he walks into the house and he's like, hey everyone, I've figured it out. And the professor guy is there drinking the wine, and he's like, actually, I need to show you this too. Even though he has that moment of like, it was just that whole section, but specific nitpick was the having the bag. Then on to my favorite thing about the movie. He just
When it ended?
No, the title sequence, Ben. Title
no,
sequence. I stand by that. I stand by that.
One of his film noir-esque voiceovers, he says, her reaction is pure Fabrizia, death and sex. What a turn on. And I was like, what beautiful poetry. I'll
I
leave
mean,
it at that.
he's reading fan fiction essentially.
It was great.
It's a self-published book about
Right.
like.
It was perfect. It was perfect. And
Oh,
also, you said brown or black person in the film, that there were none, but I would venture to guess that Fabrizia actually was that actress. Was she just a white girl? Because I don't think she was.
I thought Fabrizio was. Wait, who does Virginia Madsen play?
Oh,
She
no,
was Fabrizia.
I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. The actors who played the real Fabrizia, whose name wasn't actually Fabrizia, but his old girlfriend. What was
Laura
Lily.
Tollins.
Lily Tollins.
Laura.
Laura yeah.
Oh, that sounds
Laura
like a white girl
Tollins.
name.
So the actress's father is of a Bengali, Indian, and English descent, and her mother is Irish. And she was
Okay.
born in London, England.
She was beautiful.
She literally only served the purpose of dying and being an adulterous woman.
Great. I
Yeah.
love this. I love that you can pull it out in all the moments.
Just saying, the
Nitpick
women
for-
representation in this film is just like literally. Oh, it's so frustrating. I can't. Any nitpicks, Brian?
The whole movie, but nothing
Other than
nothing
the whole film?
specifically though. Just the whole movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, what is even the point anymore? We haven't changed our minds.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I like that as an ending. Oh, what is a point? It's the point anymore. Trail off, and then it just cuts. And the listener's like, "Wait, I'm still here, guys," and we're like,
And
"We
we
are
thank
no
you.
longer." But the dog is Ned.
Oh,
Ned's still
Ned's still
hanging out
kicking.
in space.
Okay. Well,
I also just want to make the point. I wasn't like trying to find a black or brown person in the movie. No, there must be one.
there must be some extra somewhere.
Okay, sorry. Go.
I mean,
you can end it now.
I mean, other than black and brown, a person of non-white ethnicity, I guess the Chinese.
Yeah, the
Restaurant.
Chinese restaurant owner.
Which
Like,
is terrible. Yeah.
If we're really
so
nitpicking
bad.
here.
Yeah. I would say that was like a lot of movies for a long, like all the movies
Forever?
forever. Yeah.
Until, like,
so like at some point there's like
2015?
what is it even worth talking about prior to 2015? I mean, of course it's worth talking about, but you know what I mean? Like it's just whitewashed everything.
Maybe Joel Schumacher was trying to say something by doing that and making it a film noir. Like, is he saying that the film noir genre is this racist, misogynistic
No.
genre? And
I think you're giving him too much
Yeah,
credit. I
it's
think
not
the
that
movie
deep.
is just whitewashed.
okay, listeners out there, thank you so much for trudging through this with us. This one was probably one of the hardest ones that we've done so far, and that includes Waterworld. So so that says something. Moral of the story today, everyone. No need to watch the number 23 because we did for you. Thank you for joining us this week. I am Travis. You can find me on all social medias at Travis_Orozco.
I'm Kylena Mai. You can find me at KAILENAMAI. It's like, how do I spell my name? On all the things. Actually, that's not true. I'm pretty much only on Instagram. So go there.
And Brian.
Yeah, I am Bossip on Instagram and at Brian Ossip on Twitter. And I'm not on TikTok. I'm on Facebook, but I don't use it. I'm not on MySpace anymore. I stopped using Friendster a long time
Brian's
ago.
the oldest of the three of us, in case you didn't know.
That's true. I am.
I'm on PeerSpace though, renting out my room, so check me out there.
I was trying to figure out a way to turn my age into 23.
I'm on Squarespace.
I'm an
that's my
Airbnb host.
website. Yeah, check me out on LinkedIn.
I sell stuff on OfferUp. Find me on there.
If you see...
I am on Fiverr now, offering drum recording services. If anybody needs drum tracks, I'm on Fiverr.
Oh my gosh. All right. Okay. All right. That's the first thing of note, Brian, that you said about the plugin. Like, everyone hit us up if you want Brian to do some drumming for you. He's an amazing drummer.
Thank you.
So yeah, he'll like do some sick beats or whatever for you.
Yeah.
You know, whatever
Sick
they
beats.
say.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm on Craigslist.
Please be sure to like us and follow us, the podcast everywhere, at Good Bad Bad Good, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Good Bad Bad Good is an Ex Nihilo production. Original theme music and sound engineering done by Jen Star Hacker. Find her at hackersoundmusic.com. Opinions expressed are solely that of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views of any entity they represent.